AlphaOmegaSin, in your opinion, should I get an Xbox One, perhaps a PlayStation 4? But I was also debating maybe I should get a Nintendo Wii U. What do you think? I get asked this question all the time, multiple times per day, a shit ton of times per week, and I figured, fuck it, make a video about it, because I typically end up giving the same exact answer, but I thought, why not give that answer and then more detail and an explanation as to why I have such an answer, and try to have the most even battlefield whenever it comes to the most polarizing question, what console should somebody go and get? So, I always tell people, if you're going to pick up any kind of a game system, you should always look at the most important factor, which should be number one on many people's list, and that's the games. What games are on it? What games are you interested in right now that's out? What games are coming out in the near future that you're interested in? Those are questions you need to ask yourself before you plunk down a couple $100s to pick up a console. You know, the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, the Wii U, all three of those have exclusive games to them. So naturally, that's going to be a pretty good deciding factor into it. And then naturally, there's third-party games out there that will only, sometimes there'll be a limited edition where it's like, you know, oh, we're only going to be on this console for a certain amount of time. Then later down the road, then it's going to be across all platforms. So with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, those typically have a lot of the same exact third-party games. Whenever you look at that, that's not such a bad thing because, you know exactly what to expect from all the industry leaders out there and third and second party publishers and developers. And then the Wii U itself has basically Nintendo games out the ass. We already know that Nintendo internally makes some of the best and a shit ton of first party games, you know, from the Metroids to Legend of Zelda, Star Fox, Super Mario Brothers, just everything that you can imagine you're going to end up getting on a Nintendo console. So it's usually one of the main factors into you going and picking that up. Then, okay, titles for example, I wrote down a bunch of games right here for Xbox One. You got Dead Rising 3, Sunset Overdrive, Titanfall, Killer Instinct. Upcoming, you got State of Decay, Halo 5, and Scalebound. On PlayStation 4, you got Infamous Second Son, and First Light, technically. I always say place First Light because it's fucking amazing. But Bloodborne, which is going to be coming out this month. The Order 1886, Little Big Planet 3, Guilty Gear coming up. You got Uncharted 4, Dragon Quest Heroes, Until Dawn. On Wii U, you got Hyrule Warriors, Bayonetta 2, Mario Kart 8, Super Mario 3D World, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Upcoming, got Legend of Zelda, Devil's Third, Mario Maker, Star Fox. It's a fucking ton of games. So look at all of those as to, well, which one do I want to get? Do any of those games somehow tip the scales for you? And then price point. The Nintendo Wii U, you can get for $300. And basically every single Wii U has multiple games that comes with it. And on top of that, sometimes certain stores or online stores will end up having additional games added in that you can get exclusively from them. So then you have the Xbox One, which is currently at $350. That's not a permanent price change, not yet. I'm thinking that Microsoft might just say fuck it and just keep it at $350. But right now, you can get the system for $350. And again, just like with the Wii U, multiple bundles out there. So that's always something to go and take into mind. Then the PlayStation 4 is at $400. Now, that has multiple bundles, but right now there is no price drop in the near future. I can imagine that the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One might go for a price drop coming into this next holiday season, but we're in fucking March right now, so we don't need to worry about anything like that. So if price point is something that you're kind of worried about, you gotta go and look at those key factors. Then, for many folks out there, online is important. Online is always important anytime that you want to go and play online co-op versus multiplayer, whatever the fuck it's going to be. Online is going to be very important and lucrative to whoever is going to be buying the system and spending a ton of time with it. Now, the Wii U, a lot of people kind of scoff and laugh at the online with the Wii U because typically there isn't a lot of games that take advantage of it, and then most people just say that it's very laggy, it's not all that good, there's constant disconnections. Me personally, from my own experience and a couple of my best friends, we haven't experienced anything like that. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I'm saying that I personally haven't ran into those problems. So I have no fucking clue. Maybe it depends on where you're at. Maybe it depends on what games that you're playing. But that's something that you'll want to go and look at. The PlayStation 4, we already know that the PlayStation Network, at fucking tons of times, has been the target of DDoS attacks and all sorts of other shit from hackers. So some people will be wary about it, and that typically is the butt of a ton of jokes and memes on the internet. But again, I don't actually experience it because I don't really play games online, like, at all. So, but I know a lot of people out there that whenever they're going and comparing apples to oranges, whenever it comes to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, they'll always say that you get your money's worth going with the Xbox One experience. And the Xbox One usually, typically, 99% of the time, sits at the top as far as, like, what the best online experience is going to be. Though, you know, PC gamers are going to be quick to go and shut them down and tell them to shut the fuck up, which that's its own category by itself. I'm just trying to go and focus on trifecta of consoles that we have going right now between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. But whenever it comes to online gaming, typically most people would say, yeah, Microsoft, that's the way to go. Now, there is one thing to note that you don't really have this happen a whole bunch with Nintendo outside of Club Nintendo, which is going to be ending. But whenever you go, and their service is free, so I guess it's kind of hard to even compare them, but you're going to be paying to go and play online with Microsoft and Sony. So it's one thing to go and look into, but in addition to that, you also get a bunch of games that are given to you for being, you know, an Xbox Live member or a PSN Plus member. So the games that they go and give away on those is pretty important, though I am always going to give the edge to Sony for one major reason. If you own a PlayStation 3, a PlayStation 4, and a PlayStation Vita, you're getting 3 systems worth of games. It's the only reason why I'd give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that. But overall, you can't really go wrong with 99% of the games that are going to be out there. I do wish that Nintendo, with the Virtual Console, that they carried over everything that they had pre-existing onto the Wii and put it onto the Wii U. Why the fuck it's not that way is completely beyond me, and I wish they'd lower the prices. Because, I mean, paying like $8, $9, $10 sometimes for some games that typically are just like Super Nintendo games feels kind of weird. That's all I'm saying. So somebody will be like, oh, yeah, but no, we're talking about your fucking money here. Do not sit there and defend the practices of overcharging for silly ass shit like that. You're fucking nuts. Anyhow, then controllers. Actually, I have the controllers all sitting here. To begin with, these are going to be the two that I have right here, being the PlayStation 4 and Wii U. My brother has the Xbox One, so luckily I have an Xbox One controller right here. Now, these two are made too, again, because they're always in direct competition that most people compare. And the one thing that I notice most people have a problem with is the analog stick placement on them. Because these ones are side by side and located in the lower portion of the controller, and this right there obviously is diagonal. I've never had a problem with either, and actually think both feel really fucking good. The only thing that I can say is I personally still prefer the Xbox 360 controller over the Xbox One controller, which somebody might be like, oh, you're crazy, but that's my own personal preference. With the PlayStation 4, I really hate the fucking touchpad. I think it's stupid. The battery life on it is kind of shit. And why the fuck isn't there select? Why is there a share button? I don't understand this. That's nuts. But everything else about the controller, I really like and do think that it's a step up. It's a good controller, but still, I would stick with a 360 controller. Not that I really have that as an option, but still, you know, that's all I'm saying. But then, we have the Wii U controller, tablet controller, a fucking beast. Look at that. See the reflection? There you go. You can see the camera now. Look at it. So, the Wii U tablet controller is the one that I put in a distant third place. Because it's just, I don't know, it's not that it's a bad controller per se, it's just that 90% of the time the actual tablet feature I don't feel it's ever taken full advantage of, and most games that I think that would be good with it aren't ever showing up on the system. Like, do you know how many times I want to play a tactical strategy RPG on here and control with that? It'd be fucking amazing. Or if I was playing some kind of an RTS game. Again, you could do tons of great PC ports on here and never gets full advantage of, and really this screen gets relegated to just being an additional screen. I do like the fact that you can play the games on here without it showing up on TV screens, so, you know, people can go and watch whatever the fuck it is that they're going to be watching, and you can still enjoy your games. So that's kind of cool. But for the most part, a lot of people just feel that it's awkward. Battery life again on it is kind of shit, you know, whatever. Ultimately, it's going to boil down to personal preference. you know, every single individual is going to feel different about how they experience their games using the controllers. It's going to depend on what game genre that you're playing, you know, what franchise it is, and a whole bunch of other shit. But point is that all the controllers are technically good. You know, first-party controllers really aren't bad unless you look at something such as, I don't know, the fucking CDI controllers, or the Atari Jaguar controllers, which are fucking garbage, or the Intellivision, just, man, fuck that. Oh. Those controllers are ass cheeks. The Atari 5200 controller, they're all fucking busted. All those are bad, but those are all also a lot older. And if you ever want to go with high-quality third-party controllers, Hori. That's all I'm saying. Hori controllers are amazing and really fucking good, and they'll always get the AlphaOmegaSin seal of approval for what it's worth, which is probably not much of shit. A couple of little fucking copper pieces. That's about all. But then the systems themselves, you know, some people actually give a shit about how they look aesthetically. I don't see how the fuck that ever makes a difference, because it's just gonna be sitting on a fucking shelf and you're feeding discs into it. There, you got that right there. But price point, games, the controllers, the online experience, these are all things that you have to go and take into account. You know, take individual bias out of the equation and really just judge each game, you know, even the ones that you have a personal preference for, and in the most honest way, and just look at it, you know, for what it is. And I know that lots of people will go and play the fucking fanboy card. Fuck all that shit. I don't ever in my entire life want to be a person that's going to look up at some kind of company logo and bow down before, like, it's some kind of godly monolith that's going to bestow upon me all these fucking heavenly treats that I was never going to be able to get otherwise, and act as if they're a fucking messiah of sorts, because it's just a company that goes and makes entertainment for us to experience. That's it. So I just want to make sure that people are getting the best possible experience. So always remember, the console that you want is where the fucking games are at. Everything else, personally, should be secondary. Unless you only plan on getting third-party games, and maybe that's going to be a little bit different. But I just say, go where the games go. That's how I end up judging all past consoles. Like, what's your favorite console? I'm like, a PlayStation 1. Why? The fucking games. And then the Super Nintendo, the fucking games. You know, and just all sorts of other shit. Either way, so I thought that this might help. What do you actually think out there? I already know that this can cause a monumentous uproar, the likes that most people haven't fucking seen in ages, where people are going and like, heads on pikes! Heads on pikes! That sounds like a really good chant for a metal show, by the way. Heads on pikes! Heads on pikes! Heads on pikes! Yeah, we can do that. No Viking metal? Okay, fine. Anyway, so opinions and thoughts? Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, what will it be? Or fuck all that! PC! Or somebody's like, no, I'm going to go with mobile gaming. Yeah! Which, that would be kind of strange. Who the fuck knows? Anyway, this is AlphaOmegaSin, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers, game the fuck on.